In a cold, silent alien lab, the lights blinked weakly. The walls were silver and smooth. Strange machines made quiet beeping sounds. On a metal table, a young alien girl lay still. Her skin was pale blue. Her eyes were closed. Tubes ran from her arms and chest. 3 alien doctors stood near her. Their faces showed no emotion. They looked at the girl with cold eyes. "She is broken," one said. "She did not survive the test," said the second. The third one checked a screen. "Her heart rate is dropping. No brain response. She will die soon." The girl could hear them. Her eyes were closed, but her mind was awake. She wanted to speak, but her mouth was too dry. She wanted to cry, but no tears came. "We will report her as a failed subject," one doctor said. "Prepare the next version," said another, without. One more look, the doctors turned and walked away. The door hissed closed behind them. The room was silent again. The girl's fingers twitched. Her body was weak. Her heart beat slowly, but it still beat. She was alive. A soft sound came from the corner of the room. A door opened. A man stepped in quietly. He was human. He looked different from the tall alien doctors. He had messy brown hair, kind eyes, and old boots. He looked like he did not belong here. His name was Dr. Ken Walters. He was a vet, not a real doctor, not for humans, and definitely not for aliens. He treated animals, dogs, cats, birds, sometimes even farm goats. But what he saw on the table did not look like a failed machine or test subject. She looked like someone who had been hurt and left alone. Dr. Ken walked closer. He looked at the girl. He saw the scars on her arms, the machines, the bruises. He looked into her face. Her eyes opened, just a little. They looked straight at him. He froze. Then, slowly, he spoke. "You're alive," he whispered. "Can you hear me?" The girl blinked once. Her lips moved a little, but no sound came. He looked at the machines. They were still working, but something was wrong. The data made no sense. To him, he wasn't trained for this. But he could see one thing clearly: she was dying. "Why would they leave you like this?" he asked softly. He took off his jacket and wrapped it around her body. She shivered. She was cold, freezing. "I don't know who you are," he said, "but I'm not leaving you here." He picked her up in his arms. She was lighter than he expected, like a bird with broken wings. The hallway outside was quiet. The lab was part of a hidden alien facility, but Dr. Ken knew the back ways. He had been working with alien tech support to help treat off-world animals. That's how he found this room by accident. Now he was stealing someone they had abandoned. He reached his small transport vehicle. It was meant for short trips. Not for this. He laid the girl gently in the back seat and drove off. The stars above the desert sky looked cold and sharp. Hours later, in a warm, quiet room, the girl opened her eyes again. She was lying on a soft bed. A blanket covered her. The air smelled like medicine, fur, and fresh hay. This was not a lab. This was Dr. Ken's animal clinic. He sat near her, watching. "I gave you something to help your pain," he said softly. "It's what I give to hurt animals. I hope it works for you too." She didn't speak, but her eyes watched him closely. "You're not a monster," he said. "I don't care what they called you." He placed a small bowl of warm soup on the table beside her. "You were left to die," he said. "But I don't let my patients die without trying. Even if they're different." She blinked slowly. Her hand moved toward the bowl, but stopped halfway. Her arm trembled. Ken helped her, gently holding her hand and lifting the spoon. For the first time, she took a small sip. Then another. Her eyes filled with tears, not from pain, but from something else. Someone had helped her. Someone had stayed. As she fell asleep again, Dr. Ken whispered, "You're safe now." But outside, far away, The alien doctors had already started asking, "Where is Subject 11?" The sound of soft breathing filled the small clinic room. The alien girl, Subject 11, was sleeping. Her face looked calm now, no longer twisted. In pain? Her skin was still pale blue, but her heartbeat was stronger. Her wounds had been cleaned. She wore a loose shirt and soft blanket. Dr. Ken Walters sat near the window, watching the sky turn orange. It was early morning. The stars had faded, but his thoughts had not. He looked at the medical chart in his hand. It was blank. He laughed a little to himself. "I don't even know her name," he said softly. "And I'm treating her like a sick puppy." He walked over to the table. Next to her lay bandages, medicine meant for dogs, and a book called Healing. Wild creatures. Ken wasn't a real doctor. He didn't go to medical school. He never treated humans, much less aliens. He just loved animals. He fixed broken legs, gave shots, delivered goat babies. This was different. Why did I bring her here? He asked himself. Then he looked at her again. He remembered how she had looked on that table left like garbage, breathing slow, eyes half open. He couldn't walk away. Something deep inside him said no. "I didn't save her," he whispered. "I just didn't let her die." Suddenly, a sound. The girl moved. Her eyes opened slowly. She looked around the strange room. Her hand gripped the blanket. Ken smiled gently. "Good morning." "You're still here." She didn't speak. But she didn't look afraid, only confused. "You're safe," he said. "I promise. No doctors. No machines." She tried to sit up, but her body shook. Ken moved quickly and supported her back. "Easy now." "You're healing," he said. "I gave you fluids, stitched your shoulder, fixed your ribs. The medicine's not made for aliens, but it's helping." She stared at him. Then, finally, she spoke one word. "Why?" Ken froze. It was the first time she had spoken. He sat down on the chair again. "Why?" he repeated. "Because you needed help. That's what I do." "But I'm not one of you." Ken nodded. "I noticed." There was a long silence. Outside, birds sang. Inside, machines beeped softly. "I'm a vet," he said at last. "I heal animals, not people. But sometimes it doesn't matter what species you are. Pain is pain. Life is life." She looked down at her hands. They were thin, marked with scars. "They said I was a failure," she whispered. Ken leaned forward. "You're not. I was made." "Not born," she said. "Built in a lab, programmed for war. But I got sick. They said my body was wrong. Not worth fixing." Ken's jaw tightened. He tried to stay calm, but his heart hurt. He had seen animals thrown away like this before: injured strays, unwanted pups. But this was worse. "They made you," he said slowly. "But they didn't make your soul." She looked at him, confused. He smiled. "You'll learn what that means." Later that day, Ken gave her a small notebook. "When you feel ready, write your name or make one up." She looked at the blank page. She had no name. Only numbers. Subject 11. She touched the paper with her finger like it was something holy. She didn't write anything. Yet. That evening, a knock on the clinic door. Ken opened it to find a woman in uniform, an Earth security officer. "We detected unauthorized movement from the alien sector last night," she said. "Anything strange happen here?" Ken kept his face calm. "Strange? Ma'am, I deliver baby pigs in bathtubs. Every day is strange." She frowned. "Any alien activity?" He shrugged. "Unless you count the three-legged cat in room 2. She left after a warning." Ken closed the door, heart pounding. He turned around and saw the alien girl hiding behind the curtain, eyes wide. He smiled. "Don't worry. I'm good at keeping secrets." That night, as the girl lay in bed, she whispered. To herself, I don't know who I am. But then she remembered Ken's words. You don't have to be what they made you. She closed her eyes. For the first time in her life, she dreamed not of war, but of a dog wagging its tail and a man with kind eyes saying, You're safe. Now, rain tapped gently on the roof of the small clinic. Inside, the alien girl sat near the window. Her eyes followed each raindrop like it was a new mystery. She had never seen real rain before. Not in the lab where she grew up. Dr. Ken stood nearby, watching her. He didn't say anything. He knew some silences were healing too. For 3 days now, she had eaten small meals. Her wounds had begun to close. She had not spoken much. But she watched. She listened. She learned. Then today, she asked a question. Why do dogs chase their tails? Ken smiled. Maybe they're bored. Or maybe they just think it's fun. She tilted her head. Fun. I want to know that word. You will, he said. But deep inside her, something else was waking too. Memories. Fragments, like broken glass underwater. That night, she had a dream. Not a warm dream. A cold one. Flashback begins. She stood in a glass room. Bright white lights hurt her eyes. Alien scientists moved around her, holding clipboards. They spoke numbers, not names. One of them tapped her head. Subject 11, memory chip in place. Another said, skin graft successful. Now test combat reflex. A small door opened and a robotic drone flew at her. It fired a shock beam. She dodged. Then she moved faster. She grabbed the drone midair and crushed it. The aliens nodded, not proud but satisfied. Designed well, one said. Next, emotional suppression. Another pressed a button. Suddenly, her chest burned. Pain flooded her nerves. She screamed. No one cared. They only wrote notes. Flashback ends. She woke with a gasp. Sweat ran down her neck. Her hands shook. Ken heard her cry and rushed in. It's okay, he said, holding her shoulders. You're safe. She pushed his hand away. I broke something, she whispered. A drone. I crushed it. They said. I was perfect. Ken frowned. A dream? She nodded slowly. A memory. He sat beside her. Do you want to talk about it? She looked at the ceiling. I was made to fight, she said, not feel. They tested my pain, my speed, my brain. Every day, I was not a girl. I was a weapon. Ken stayed quiet. I passed every test, she continued. Until one day, I didn't. What happened? Ken asked. I failed to follow an order, she whispered. They told me to hurt another subject, a smaller one. He was scared. Like me, I said no. Ken leaned forward. What did they do to you? She looked down. They said I was broken, not useful. They threw me away. A long silence filled the room. Then Ken spoke. Do you know what I think? She shook her head. I think saying no means you weren't broken. It means you were more human than they ever were. Later that day, Ken brought her something. It was a small metal tag, like the ones pets wear. She read the letters on it. Leah. What is this? She asked. A name, Ken said. I thought you might like one, but you can choose another. She stared at the tag. Leah, she repeated softly. What does it mean? Ken smiled. In Earth language, it means bearer of light. She looked out the window. The rain had stopped. The clouds were gone. Sunlight touched her face. I like it, she said. That night, as Ken cleaned the clinic, a red light blinked on a small old monitor. It wasn't connected to the internet, but to something else. A low signal came through, alien code. Scrambled, but clear enough. Subject 11, terminated or missing. Begin trace. Ken's heart dropped. They were looking for her. He walked back to her room. She had fallen asleep again, curled up like a cat on the couch. He whispered to himself, she wasn't made for war, but she have to fight again. Then he looked at her sleeping face, and this time she won't be alone. The wind howled across the dry valley. Dust rolled past the old animal clinic. The sun had not yet risen. Darkness still covered the sky like a blanket. Inside, the lights flickered once, then again. Dr. Ken stood in front of his small control screen. The red dot was blinking faster now. Something was wrong. He pressed a button. The message repeated. Trace signal detected. Origin, outer sector. Coordinates locked. Ken's eyes narrowed. They found her. He walked quickly down the hall and stopped at her door. She was already awake. Leah sat on the bed, alert. Her eyes were glowing softly blue light in the dark. She could feel it too. The danger. The signal. They're coming, aren't they? She asked. Ken nodded. Yes. She stood slowly, as if her body already knew what to do. Far away. In space. A sleek black ship moved silently through the sky. Inside, 2 alien hunters sat in the cockpit. Their armor was dark and full of sharp edges. No names. No faces. Only code numbers. Hunter -7 tapped his screen. Signal locked. Subject 11's biotrail confirmed. Hunter 4 checked his weapon. Orders? Bring her back. Dead or alive. No mistakes this time. They moved fast. Like shadows across the stars. Back on Earth, Ken packed a small bag. Food, water, medical kit, he said aloud. We need to move, but Leia didn't move. I won't run, she said. Ken turned. What? I've run my whole life, she whispered. From labs, from pain, from myself. Ken put a hand on her shoulder. This is not giving up. This is surviving. She shook her head. They'll follow, no matter where we go. Ken looked into her glowing eyes. Then, we make a plan, together. They moved into the basement. It used to be a storage room for animal food and equipment. Now, it was their bunker. Ken opened a dusty crate. Inside were tools, old wires, and one small defense drone. Built it during the border war, Ken said. Never thought I'd need it again. Leia placed her hand on the drone. Instantly, the lights flickered on. You boosted it? Ken asked. She looked at him. I understand machines. I was raised with them. Ken smiled. Good. Let's give our visitors a surprise. That night, the ship landed. Silent. No one in. The valley saw it. No lights, no sound. Just metal feet stepping onto Earth soil. The hunters moved like ghosts. One scanned the air. She's here. They split up, surrounding the clinic. Inside, Leah stood ready. Her body felt different, stronger. She was healing faster than before. Ken's medicine wasn't made for her, but it was unlocking something. She remembered now her body had been designed to adapt, to learn, to protect. Leah, Ken said, holding a small communicator. If they take me, they won't. She cut him off. He looked at her, at the once fragile girl now standing like a storm waiting to break. The door exploded inward. Hunter 4 stepped in. Ken fired the drone. It buzzed forward, shooting electric sparks. The hunter dodged easily, smashed it with one punch. Ken was thrown back. Leia moved, faster than she ever had before. She tackled the hunter into the wall. Metal cracked. Sparks flew. The second hunter rushed in, but Leia turned, eyes glowing bright. She raised her hand and a wave of energy pushed the second one back. Ken blinked. What was that? Leah looked at her hand. I don't know. The hunters regrouped, blocking the exit. You belong to us, one growled. No, she said. I belong to no one. They fired. Ken jumped in front of her. The blast hit him in the side. He dropped. No. Leia screamed. Something inside her broke, then rebuilt. Itself. Her body glowed. The air changed. She moved like lightning. In 5 seconds. Both hunters were on the floor motionless. She ran to Ken. He was breathing, but bleeding. She picked him up this time. She was the one carrying him. You saved me, she whispered. Now I save you. Outside, dawn was breaking. The wind was calm now. Leah stood under the rising sun. Ken in her arms. She looked at the ship. She looked at the sky. And for the first time, she said it out loud. I'm not a weapon. I'm someone worth saving. Smell of medicine and metal filled the small recovery room. Dr. Ken lay unconscious on the clinic bed, a bandage across his ribs. A monitor beeped slowly beside him. His chest rose and fell, steady but weak. Leah sat in the corner, knees to her chest, arms wrapped tightly around herself. Her skin glowed softly in the dim light, not from power, but from something new. Emotion. Fear, guilt, worry. She had never felt this before. Not like this. Not for anyone. She watched Ken sleep for hours. She didn't move. Didn't eat. A soft bark pulled her from her thoughts. It was Milo, the old 3-legged dog Ken had rescued months ago. He limped into the room and looked at her. Leah tilted her head. You stayed. Milo barked once and sat beside her. She reached out a hand. He sniffed it, then rested his head on her knee. Leah blinked. Warmth. Connection. Is this what it means to care? Later that evening, Ken opened his eyes. Barely. You? Okay, he whispered. She nodded quickly. Yes, but... You, he smiled weakly. You protected me. You did good, kid. I hurt them, she said. I didn't hold back. They came to take you. You had to fight. But what if? Next time, I can't stop? Ken looked into her glowing blue eyes. That's why you need more than just power, Leah, he said. You need your heart, not just your mind. The next day, Leah helped Ken walk through the clinic. She saw how fragile humans could be, how slow they healed, and yet, how strong they were too. Ken smiled at her. You're learning. Learning. What? To be more than what they made you. That afternoon, Ken gave her something unexpected. A notebook. The same one from before, but this time, the pages were no longer empty. Inside were little drawings. A stick figure girl. A dog, a sun, a sad face. A happy one. Leah flipped through each one slowly. You drew these? Ken shook his head. You did. In your sleep. She stared at the final drawing. It was her, standing beside a human, smiling. Underneath, in small letters, was a name. Leah. She touched the page. Why do I feel so much now? Ken smiled. Because you're alive. But peace never lasts forever. Far above Earth. Another signal lit up. Not from a hunter, from a creator, a lab scientist, watching her through stolen code. Subject 11 shows signs of full emotional awakening. Dangerous. May no longer be controlled. New order was sent. Activate protocol black. Back on Earth. Leah stood outside the clinic. She stared at the sky. Something was coming. Not from outside, from within. Sharp pain struck her chest. She dropped to her knees. Images flashed through her head. Weapons. Orders. Destroy. A voice in her mind. Execute protocol black. Cleanse target. Eliminate threat. No, she whispered. Not me. Not anymore. Her fingers shook. Her breath became cold. Inside the clinic, lights began to flicker. Ken rushed outside. Leah, she looked at him, eyes wide with fear. I can feel it. Something is trying to take me. Ken ran to her and grabbed her shoulders. Then fight it. I don't know how. Yes, you do, he said. Use your heart. Not the code. Her skin flickered like a machine breaking, but her hand reached up and touched his, steady, real. Human. The voice in her head faded just a little. she whispered. Stay with me. Ken nodded. I'm not going anywhere. That night, as the stars returned to the sky, Leah sat beside a fire. She watched Milo chase his tail, fall over, and bark at his own mistake. She laughed a real laugh for the first time in her life. Then she whispered, I think I understand now. Heart and mind. It started with a sound, not loud, not sharp, just gentle wind brushing leaves, a dog's snore, the slow beep of a heart monitor. Leah sat still on the floor, her back against the clinic wall, her arms wrapped around her legs. She wasn't injured, but something inside her was. Ken was sleeping in the next room. Healing. She had broken the hunters, but it was he who had taken the blast. Why? Why would someone get hurt for her? Machines didn't protect their tools. Soldiers didn't protect failed weapons. But he did. Why? She looked down at her hands. These hands had once broken drone skulls, lifted tanks, strangled enemies. Now they trembled. Why? Not from fear. Not from pain. Something else. In the quiet, she whispered to herself for the first time, what am I? Not what was I made for? Not what can I do? But simply, deeply, what? M1? She heard a soft scratch. At the door. She opened it slowly. Milo limped in. The old dog Ken had saved from a trash fire last year. One eye, 3 legs, crooked tail. Ugly, but full of peace. He sat next to her and looked up. She stared at him. I destroyed war drones, she whispered. But you survived just by being kind. He licked her hand. No words. No weapons. Just warm. That night, she couldn't sleep. So she did something she had never done before. She walked into Ken's study. And read. One book, then another. Not science. Not war logs. Fairy tales. Children's stories. One was about a scarecrow who wanted a brain. Another about a tin man who wanted a heart. She read slowly. Line by line, and when she reached the last page, she whispered, That's me. Morning came. Ken was awake, still weak, but smiling. He saw Leah walk in holding the book. You found my old stories, he said. They were strange, but kind, she said. Why did the Tin Man want a heart? Ken leaned back and took a deep breath. Because mind alone can think, but heart lets us feel. Both matter. She sat next to him. They gave me a mind, but they tried to erase everything else. Ken looked at her. Did it work? She thought about it. No, she said. You brought it back. Later that day, Ken gave her a task. Feed the rabbit. His name is Crumb. She looked at the tiny, fuzzy animal hopping in a cage. She reached out. It ran. It's scared of me, she said. Ken smiled. Then sit quietly. Let it see you're not a threat. So she sat and waited. And the rabbit came. It sniffed her hand, sat near her feet, chewed hay. She didn't move. I didn't even touch it, she whispered. Sometimes love works best with no hands, Ken said. That evening, Ken asked her a strange question. Do you remember music? Music? She frowned. No, I only heard alarms, orders, screams. He handed her an old music player. Headphones. Try this. She put them on. A piano played. Then strings. Slow, soft, aching. Her eyes widened. Her heart hurt in a way she couldn't name. Tears came. What is this? She asked, voice shaking. Ken looked at her gently. It's feeling. Outside the clinic, far above Earth, a red light blinked on in a dark lab. One scientist stared at the signal. Subject 11 is adapting beyond control. Emotional interference detected. Personality forming. Another voice replied coldly. Then, activate phase Omega. A new code was uploaded into her sleeping system silently. Something ancient dot, something final dot, and far below. In the clinic, Leah whispered her first full sentence with her own voice. I don't want to be a weapon anymore. The first thing she noticed was the cold dot not outside. Inside her chest, Leah stood in front of the bathroom mirror in the clinic. Staring at her reflection, her face looked calm, but something behind her eyes had changed. She didn't know how to describe it. A flicker, a glitch, a shadow in the light. She blinked, and for half a second, her reflection didn't blink back. That night, the dreams came back, but this time, they were not memories. They were instructions, codes, commands, targets. Timers. Kill switch armed. Countdown initiated. She sat up with a scream. Her hands were glowing. Ken rushed into the room. Leah? I saw something, she whispered. No, not saw. Felt. Inside me. Like a machine waking up. Ken's face changed. He didn't speak. Right away, she looked into his eyes. What do you know? He sat beside her. There were rumors, he said softly, when I worked near the border labs, about a failsafe, hidden deep inside weapon-class subjects. She listened without breathing. They called it the ghost chip, a silent command that activates when the subject starts becoming human. Leah shook her head. Why? Because they feared your feelings more than your strength, Ken said. A machine can be controlled. A person chooses. She stood up, panicked. How do I remove it? Ken looked at the floor. You can't. It's buried in your neural code. Hidden until triggered. Her voice cracked. Triggered by what? He hesitated. Love, trust, peace. Leah's chest tightened. I'm being punished. For healing. The next day, things got worse. Her hands sparked when she tried to touch Milo. The light bulbs burst when she walked by. And in her mind, a whisper looped again and again. You are not real. You are not free. You are not human. She grabbed her head and screamed. But no one else could hear the voice. Only her. She walked into the woods behind the clinic. Alone. She didn't tell Ken. She couldn't. Because this time, she wasn't afraid of being caught by the enemy. She was afraid of herself. Deep in the trees. She found a broken shed. Old. Forgotten. Covered in vines. She sat inside it. And cried. For the first time, without pain. Without command. Just because. Then she heard a voice. Not the machine voice. Ken's. Leah, he said softly. I followed your trail. She didn't turn. You shouldn't be here. He sat beside her anyway. You think you're dangerous, he said. But I don't. She looked at him. What if next time I hurt you? Then I'll heal again, just like you did. I'm a time bomb, Ken. No, you're a person. And people can fight what's inside them. She laughed bitterly. You really believe that? Ken placed something in her hand, a seed. Even the dead soil can grow life, if it gets light. Suddenly, Leah gasped. Her heart raced. Her vision blurred. She fell to her knees. A screen lit up in her mind. Final protocol unlocked. Target, clinic, objective, cleanse contamination. No, she shouted. I won't. Ken grabbed her shoulders. Fight it. I can't. My hands, they're charging. Then use your heart, he whispered. Not your code. Her body trembled. Light exploded from her palms, but she focused not on pain, not on fear, on Milo's soft bark, on Ken's gentle words, on the rabbit chewing hay, on her own laughter by the fire. Real memories, real feelings, and the code. Broke. She collapsed into Ken's arms. Smoke rose from her fingertips, but the glow was gone, and the voice in her mind, silent. Back at the lab, red lights flashed. The screen read, Command rejected. Subject 11, conscious override. The scientist stood in shock. That's Impossible. But another voice replied from the shadows, no, that's human. The world was quiet for the first time in a long time. Laya didn't hear any voice inside her head. No orders, no code, just silence. And birdsong. She stood barefoot in the garden behind the clinic, sunlight warming her skin. Her hands were covered in soil, real earth soil. A tiny green sprout had broken through the dirt. Ken stepped beside her, holding a cup of tea. You did that, he said, nodding at the sprout. She smiled faintly, with one hand glowing and the other shaking. He chuckled. That's called living. For 2 weeks, there was peace. No ships, no signals, no shadows. Laya helped feed the animals. She stitched wounds. She learned how to laugh when a goat chewed on her hair. She even named the rabbit Echo, not because it repeated anything, but because it reminded her of something. Quiet, soft, and far away, like a soul trying to return, but far above earth, peace was unacceptable. The High Command watched her on a silent screen. She survived the override, one scientist said. That confirms emotional independence. Another narrowed his eyes. She is now unpredictable. That makes her dangerous. A vote was cast, unanimous. Eliminate Subject 11. Before others learned to feel as well, one final ship was launched, smaller, silent, designed not to capture, but erase. A weapon. To destroy a weapon. On Earth, Laya felt it. Not in her skin. In her heart, she dropped the bowl she was washing. The sound echoed like thunder. Ken came running. They're coming again, she said. But this time, they won't try to take me. They'll try to end you, he said, voice low. She nodded. Because I became something they can't control. That night, she stood in the field alone. Waiting. When the ship arrived, it didn't land. It hovered, silent and black. A voice boomed through her mind. Subject 11. Your creation is now classified as corruption. Prepare for termination. Leah stepped forward. No. No weapons in her hands. No armor. Just dirt under her nails and a rabbit watching from the grass. You are a threat, the voice said. You are unstable. She looked up. I'm not a threat. I'm a choice. Energy charged in the air. The weapon inside the ship locked on. Ken stepped outside. Laya! She turned and raised a hand. Don't come closer. This is my choice now. He froze. I don't want to be saved. I want to stand. The beam fired. A line of white heat cut through the night. But Laya didn't move. She didn't run. Didn't strike. She simply focused. Not on fear. Not on strength, but on every tiny thing that made her human. Her first laugh. The feel of grass. Ken's stupid tea. Echo's heartbeat. Milo's loyalty. The way a name feels when someone says it kindly. Her body glowed, but not like a machine, like something alive, something more. And the beam shattered. Like water hitting light. The ship lost control. It twisted, sparked, and crashed into the field. Ken ran to her. She stood still, glowing like sunrise. He touched her shoulder. She didn't collapse. She didn't burn out. She smiled. It's over. Later, Earth officials arrived. They saw the wreckage, the logs, the vote. And her. Not as Subject 11. As Laya. She didn't run this time. She stepped forward and said, one sentence. I'm not here to destroy. I'm here to choose. Months passed. The lab was shut down. Other subjects, silent, broken, half-faded, were found. They were brought to her. And one by one, with hands trembling and voices uncertain, they asked, Can we feel too? She held each hand and said, Yes, the heart is not a bug. It's the way out. 1 year later, a small sign outside the clinic read, Laya and Ken, healing for all creatures. Inside, a patient cried while holding a purring alien cat. In the back, Milo snored under a desk. And near the window, a former weapon gently taught a child android how to plant a flower, because in the end, she wasn't saved by programming. Not by power. But by something far more dangerous to tyrants: a vet, a dog, a choice, and a heart the human way.